Since the dawn of social media, scientists, psychologists, and programmers have debated the effects of social media on its users. We still don't have a definitive answer to the central question, is social media good or bad for us? This is an impossible question to answer because social media affects each person differently. This video will argue that individual users have nearly complete control over the way that social media affects them, because their actions can cause either positive or negative outcomes, but not all negative outcomes can be avoided. In light of such control, we'll discuss how you can maximize the positive effects of social media for yourself and avoid as many pitfalls as possible. In order to understand how to extract all the possible benefits from social media, we first have to understand what social media is. We use it every day, but we might not be able to define it. But luckily, the experts can. In their paper, Social Media Elements, Ecologies, and Effects, social media experts Bayer, Trio, and Ellison outline the 5 key features of social media. Social media are internet-based, interactive, and at least somewhat asynchronous, with mostly user-generated content that users can broadcast to a large audience. This YouTube video is an excellent example. You're watching this video on the internet, and you can interact with me or other users in the comments. I'm making this video at a different time than you're watching it. This video, and most others, are created by users, and is created by one user, but can be seen by a large audience. Now that we know exactly what social media is, we can dive into the debate about its effects on its users. There is extensive debate about if social media is good or bad for us. This debate stems from the lack of evidence of how social media affects us, and the fact that the research that we do have is inconclusive at best and outright contradictory at worst. A literature review published in Current Opinion in Psychology exhibits the opposing views of modern research. The authors found that studies focused on individuals show that some users experience negative results and some users experience positive results, but most users experience no emotional effects at all. This highly variable and individualized result supports the idea that social media itself is neither good nor bad, but that outcomes are rather specific to and possibly controlled by the user. So if you can control how social media affects you, how can you make sure you reap the rewards while suffering as few ill effects as possible? Research has shown that social media can help people to craft their identity and create community bonds. According to Cliff Lampy, social media helps us to build more and stronger, quote-unquote, weak ties, which are the casual relationships we have with acquaintances. Our family and best friends are a lot like us, but colleagues, classmates, and other weak ties with whom we communicate over social media may provide a different worldview. These relationships also build our social capital and can provide emotional, physical, or material support. Social media also allows users to build their identities away from their families and bolster their independence. Users can create and affirm their own identity through the content that they post. When we post something on social media, we, to quote blogger and professor Zizi Papakarisi, project what we want to be, and then perhaps we become that. To achieve these positive effects, we just have to be authentic online. Bayer et al. Find that increased authenticity in self-presentation garners, quote, emotional rewards and online support, end quote. Many times, users are able to create communities based on shared interests or identities. This way of constructing identity and community is only effective when users are honest about who they are, but when they are, they can create lasting relationships and find validation. Users can not only cause positive outcomes based on their activity, but mitigate and even prevent negative outcomes too. One such possible negative outcome is envy. Alice Walton of Forbes describes how social media encourages us to compare ourselves to others, and regardless of whether we perceive ourselves to be better or worse than the other person, we feel worse about ourselves. This stems from spending time scrolling through the feed of content that we follow and seeing the amazing things that other people are doing. Loneliness is another possible negative outcome. As Jean Twenge notes in her article for The Atlantic, people meticulously document all of the fun things that they participate in and all of the friends that they hang out with. This can make us feel lonely and excluded, especially when we're missing out on the activities of our peers. To avoid both of these harmful outcomes, however, Aaron Vogel and Jason Rose suggest that users focus on their own profile and those of their close friends while on social media. Their research found that those who focus on others online tend to suffer negative feelings such as envy and decreased life satisfaction, but those who focus on their own profiles experience boosts in self-esteem. This is because all social media profiles are idealized versions of oneself, so viewing others' profiles shows you an idealized version of them, which highlights their good qualities and causes envy. But viewing your own profile shows you an idealized version of yourself. This reminds you of your good qualities and boosts your self-esteem. So the next time you feel yourself getting jealous or lonely when a picture of that one perfect person comes up on your feed, take a look at how awesome you look on your profile. Despite this control over other possible negative effects of social media, online harassment is much harder for users to prevent. Social media facilitates harassment because, as stated by Danah Boyd, content is highly visible, easy to share and find, and long-lasting. This means that a troll can easily create and spread negative or hurtful comments, and that it is difficult to remove such content. Despite the efforts of platforms and the government, it is nearly impossible to remove all harassment from the internet. Users can try to mitigate this by blocking trolls or disabling comments, but no user can prevent it completely. In fact, an individual doesn't even need to use a social media site for it to be used against them. Predators can create their own websites or post on anonymous revenge sites to tarnish the reputations of those they want to attack. This, unfortunately, is one danger of social media that cannot be prevented by the user. Throughout this video, we've seen that you, the user, can control many aspects of your social media experience. Unfortunately, you can do your best to mitigate harassment and bullying, but it's not completely avoidable. However, you can avoid the pitfalls of loneliness and envy by focusing on your content and that of your close friends. You can incite positive effects, such as identity creation and the strengthening of weak ties by being authentic online. Now, hopefully, you know how to harness the power of social media to become your best self. With all that said, go forth, my friends, and make social media work for you.